Hello and welcome to the NBL1 Show for another week. My name is Megan Hustwaite. Well, it was King's birthday long weekend for some states and conferences around the country at the weekend, so there was a bit of a pause on action for some of our conferences, but we are going to catch up with John Guana and talk all things NBL1 North because a new record was set in the men's side of things at the weekend. Jason Kiddee setting the record for most points scored by an NBL1 men's player. He had 52 points, and what a season he's having. We're also going to catch up with a couple of guests today. Sharna Thompson is having a cracking season for Norwood in NBL1 Central, so we'll chat to her. And then Blake Morrow is a great story. He's an import for Inner West Bulls in NBL1 East, so I'm looking forward to catching up with him and learning a little bit more. Well, we did have action in South and West at the weekend. In NBL1 South, it was just a handful of games, so let's take a look at what unfolded there. It was somewhat of a Pinot party for Sandringham, with Dane top scoring. He had a double-double in Sandringham's win over the Melbourne Tigers. And then Georgia was also a shining light against the Melbourne Tigers in the women's game. That was Sandringham's 7th win for the season. Funda Nakasoglu had 20 points in that victory too, while Hannah Giddy had a double-double for the Tigers. Reigning conference MVP Alicia Froling led Knox to a 79-68 win over Nuttawading. And Mila Goodchild, who joined us on the show recently, she's having a superb campaign with Mount Gambier. They beat Diamond Valley and they sit in 3rd place. So just a handful of games in NBL1 South, but a full round coming up this weekend, and it is mental health round too. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Let's take a look at what happened out in the West, and Rockingham, well, they are starting to flame after a couple of losses so far in their campaign, and it's no surprise that Devondrick Walker really heated things up. He had 41 points as Rockingham beat the Eastern Suns. Coburg Cougars won their double-double, and Mandurah had all their starters in double figures as they had a high-scoring win over the Goldfields. Let's take a look at what happened in the women's action now, and Nat Burton top scored. She wound back the clock in her milestone game for Warwick. And Taya Burrows had a triple-double for Rockingham against the Suns. She's been putting up some outstanding numbers and providing plenty of highlights for the Flames this season. All right, it's time to get into some of our chats this week, so let's head north and talk to John Guana. Well, scoring was the flavour of the round in NBL1 North as we head up now and chat to our expert, John Guana. Welcome, John. We had a new record set at the weekend by an NBL1 North player.
An NBL1 North star, superstar at that, Jason Kiddee, 52 points, a record in the NBL1 North. He did it in a super efficient clip as well. 15 of 24 from the field. He was 9 of 14 from three-point land. He got to the free throw line 14 times. He did miss one of those free throws, so it could have been 53, not 52. But man, what a performance from Jason Kiddee. We seem to talk about him week in and week out. And this is the kind of stuff that he's delivering for the Gold Coast. And it's not forced. That's the beautiful part of Jason's game. He takes what the game gives to him. And in this one, he was feeling it early and it carried on through all the way to the end. It was a big win for the Gold Coast. They keep pace with Logan. And man, what else can we say about Jason Kiddee? Playing at an MVP level week in and week out, setting records. But can I also just give a massive shout out to Makwach Malwach, who had a huge game also for Darwin in the loss. I mean, it's really, really rare when you score 40 points and grab 12 rebounds to be a secondary story. But man, 52 points, a record for Jason Kiddee. We talk a lot about MVPs, but Jason Kiddee put a stamp on it. I know we still have a bit of season to go, but it's going to be tough to beat a 52-point game.
The king of NBL1, according to Anthony Drumick, who tweeted that out over the weekend, and fittingly, it was the king's birthday holiday in some states around Australia. It was a big scoring weekend because NBL1 North women's player had a huge outing too.
Yeah, Lexi Held had 48 points in the overtime win for the North Gold Coast over the Darwin Salties. The Salties did a great job to get themselves back into this one. They had to go on a 25-14 fourth quarter run to send the game to overtime, and they led for most of that overtime game. But Lexi Held was amazing, and she really sealed the deal as well. Not only did she score 48 points, but her 2 free throws with 3 seconds left were the game-deciding points of the game. Held, she came off the bench, had 48 points, 15 of 28 from the field, 8 of 14 from 3. She also got to the free throw line 14 times, hitting 10 of them. And man, Lexi has been a great addition to this Seahawks team. They're playing great basketball. She got a lot of help from Erin Riley in that one, who nearly had a triple-double, 30 points, 12 rebounds, and 8 assists. But Lexi Held coming in off the bench, dropping 48 points. I mean, man, who wouldn't want to bring a player in off the bench that gets nearly 50 points? What a performance. And the Seahawks are really, really rolling, looking great heading into the stretch run of the season.
They sure are. And speaking of overtime, there was an overtime result also in the men's.
There definitely was. I'm calling it the Battle of the Bullets, as Ipswich went up to Mackay and they got a win by 5 points in overtime, 119-114 over the Meteors. It's a really good win for Ipswich. Mackay, though, let's give them a bit of credit as well. They were down 19 at halftime to come back and get the game to overtime. But from there, they just couldn't finish it off. Nathan Sobey had 26 points, 7 rebounds, and 7 assists to get the win over his new Bullets teammate, Isaac White. Isaac had 33 points, 5 rebounds, and 15 assists, but it was actually a former Bullet who led the way for Ipswich, and Deng Deng, who had 29 points in that one to lead Ipswich to the win. What a battle. And man, how about the backcourt of this Bullets team? They're doing work here in the NBL1 North. I'm sure all Bullets fans will hope to see that carry into the NBL season.
Absolutely. Now, the top 4 in both men's and women's conferences are starting to take shape. So let's start with what the top of the ladder is looking like for the men's side of things.
Yeah, on the men's side, we mentioned the women's side of things, but the North Gold Coast now into the top 4. They had a great win over the Salties, and man, I feel like we're picking on Darwin. It was a tough weekend for the Salties on both sides of things, but North Gold Coast had a great win. That win over the Salties moves them to 7-5. They're in the top 4. I mean, I think if we went back to the preseason, a lot of people would say maybe they'd be around the top 8, but to be in the top 4 at this point in the season is a great, great spot to be in. And a bit of a surprise for the Seahawks, but Bawali Bales is playing great basketball. He recently signed with the Hawks. He's playing great on the Gold Coast. He had 24 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists in the win against the Salties. Majok had another double-double, 22 points and 17 rebounds. And a player they picked up off the scrap heap, Rockhampton got rid of Wesley Harris. He's slid right into this Seahawks group, and he's given them great production off the bench. He had 14 points and 7 rebounds in the win against the Salties. And North Gold Coast is playing fantastic basketball. I'm a bit surprised to see them in the top 4. Please don't hate me, Seahawks fans. I am a little surprised, though, to see them up there.
Let's have a look at the top of the women's table now and what that's looking like at this point of the season.
Yeah, a big matchup on the weekend. The Salties came down for 3 games. They picked up a win on Friday night against the Gold Coast, and then they head into a top 3 matchup on Saturday against the Southwest Metro Pirates. They had to do it without Erin Bowman. Erin Bowman broke a finger on Friday night in the game against the Gold Coast, so doing it without one of their top stars was really difficult, and the Pirates picked up a win, 83-75. That drops Darwin down to 3rd spot on the ladder, boosts Southwest up to 2nd now on the ladder. And Darwin, only a few weeks ago was one of the couple of remaining undefeated teams. They've hit a bit of a skid, particularly coming down here over the weekend. They dropped 2 of 3, but we got to give the Pirates a lot of credit, and credit where credit's due. Maddie Roche had 25 points, 4 rebounds, and 7 assists in the win against the Salties. Hannah Young had a great game, 24 points and 4 rebounds. And then Pirates backed up on Sunday, picked up another win while Salties dropped the game to North Gold Coast, like we mentioned about Lexi Held earlier. And in that one, it was Lulu Twydale's last game of the season for the Pirates. And what a way to go out and head over to start your college career. She had 33 points in the win against Red City. Maddie Roche backed up with 21 points, 6 rebounds, and 6 assists. Pirates are looking really good. Salties, man, if they have to play without Aaron Bowman, other players are going to have to step up. Chelsea Brook had a pretty good weekend. Catherine McGregor had a couple of good moments over the weekend, but pressure is going to be on the Salties now. They're still in the top three, but they're heading in the wrong direction.
So a bit of a position swap with second and third place sides. The Wizards remain at the top, but not without a weekend scare.
Yeah, they definitely did probably get the scare of the season for the Wizards. They keep that donut in the loss column, but they really, really had to battle for it. They won 64-60 at Rip City. Super, super low-scoring affair. The Rip led for over 27 minutes in the game. The Wizards only led pretty much for the first time into the third quarter, but they were able to maintain that lead. It was a back-and-forth affair. They exchanged leads throughout the fourth quarter, but the Wizards remain undefeated. Courtney Woods continues her MVP season, 30 points, 7 rebounds, and 2 assists in that one. AJ Johnson, another double-double with 14 points and 17 rebounds. And a bit of a wake-up call for the Wizards. They know that they're the team that everyone's gunning for at the moment. They took Rip City's best shot. It says a lot about the character of the group that they were able to maintain focus and pull out a really, really hard-fought win. Still at the top of the ladder, and they're building a bit of a gap as the Pirates and the Salties are looking to battle for that top three.
Yeah, the top four is certainly starting to take shape. John, always great to catch up with you. You are the Jason Kiddee of commentators in NBL1. Thank you for your time and look forward to doing it again next week.
Thank you, Megan. You don't know how much that means to me. Kiddee, I love Jason Kiddee. If I could represent NBL1 North like he does, I'm really happy with that. Thanks for that.
You already do. Thanks, John. Well, there's been a lot of players move conferences with great success in NBL1, and one of those players is Sharna Thompson, who's doing great things in Central, and she joins us on the show this week. Welcome, Sharna.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Now, you're having a great season with Norwood. You've made the move over to South Australia after a couple of great years with the Chargers in NBL1 South. Tell us a bit about the move.
Yeah, so I've been playing with Hobart Chargers since the age of 15, and obviously I'm 22 years old now, so I thought that it was about time to make the move and get out of the comfort zone, and yeah, ended up in Norwood.
Well, it's been a great move. You've been playing some great basketball with the Flames. Have you felt like there has been that shift and a bit of a reset for you in a new conference and with a new club?
Yeah, I'm really stoked that I made the move. Obviously my role at the club has also changed as well. I was voted vice captain by my teammates. Obviously, I've taken that new step and become more of a leader, both on and off the court. So I think that's really exciting, and I'm really grateful to be a part of this group. It's a really good team, and I think that we could really take it the whole way.
Well, you're fourth on the ladder, and that's a pretty great current standing, given that Ali Wilson's been in and out of the team because of 3-on-3 duty. So tell us a bit about how the side has got around her inclusion and her absence all in the same season.
Yeah, well, obviously Ali is an unbelievable player, and I think that we're all grateful to have her in the team. We just had to, adapt when she had those Australian duties, and I think that our team, we've got a lot of young girls and we've also got a few mature players as well. So I think that we've really had that balance, and I think that's really helped me grow as a player as well, being able to role model and, be that vice captain under Ali to help those younger girls, push through. And then we basically just think of the positives. Like, we can only really get better adding in a player like Ali. So I think that, we're really excited to see what we can have once our full squad's together.
So what about your game personally? Has the leadership impacted that? Because you were averaging 16.7 points last year for the Chargers. That's up this season at 22.2. Has that leadership perhaps impacted on your output as a player?
I think it's just helped me grow as a player. I think I've got more control. I've got the ball in my hand a little bit more. I play a little bit more point guard up at Norwood more than I did in Hobart. So I think, just being that leader on the court, getting the girls through their stuff. And I think that we had, a few meetings discussing about what we thought our roles were and, what are the right shots to take. And I think that once the team bonded on that and, we came up with what we were comfortable with, the team knew what to go to and what to look for. So I think that's really helped with me as well. And credit to the girls, they've got all confidence in me to do that. So yeah, it's been really good.
Is that something you want to continue to work on and evolve, playing point guard?
Yeah, it's definitely something that I want to be better at, and I think that Will Smith has given me that opportunity to run the point more, and I think I'm only going to get better at that with the on court experience. So I think it's definitely something to look forward to be better at.
The last time we chatted with you was in 2020 on the NBL Fast Break, and you'd just signed with Townsville Fire ahead of your first WNBL season, and that was in the Hub, and Townsville made the grand final that season, but unfortunately went down to Southside. Fast forward a couple of years and Townsville just won the last title. You haven't been in the WNBL for 2 seasons, but is that a goal of yours to get back in there?
Yeah, it's definitely at the top of the list. One of my long-term goals is, to slowly chip away and try and get my foot back in that WNBL door. But I think, the main focus for me right now and what I've got my mind switched on is a NBL1 championship with the Norwood Flames. So I think, once we tick the boxes, and then we'll get to that higher goal.
Well, it's a good answer, Sharna, and who knows, I'm sure there's plenty of eyes on you in South Australia, because the Lightning are going to be without Steph Talbot for most of the season, and unfortunately Abby Cabillo, who's done her ACL. But let's look back, let's go back now to finals, and obviously you're hopefully going to be there. The Sabres have obviously been in top touch as well. So who do you sort of see as the teams that you're going to contend with?
Yeah, well, obviously Sabres, they're still undefeated at the moment. And I think a great positive for us girls at Norwood is that we only went down to them by 1 point without that was kind of on the buzzer as well. So I think, put everything aside, like a loss is a loss, and we're pretty disappointed with the way that went out, because that would have been unbelievable for us as a group without Ali. But I think, as I said before, you've just got to look at the positives. Like, we can only get better adding in, an MVP caliber player like Ali. So I think at the moment we just look at what we can put forward and just get better from what we've got.
You're going to be very hard to beat when you add that final piece of the puzzle back in with Ali Wilson regularly back in the team. Sharna, it's been great to chat with you, particularly sort of 2 and a bit years or 3 years sort of on from last talking with you. You've come so far in terms of your game, but also with your leadership. So it's great to see you doing great things both on and off the court for Norwood. Thanks for your time today, and good luck to you both personally and team-wise for the rest of the NBL1 season.
Beautiful. Thanks for having me.
Well, we love to talk to an import on the NBL1 Show about their journey to Australia and what's brought them to this great competition. And joining us from NBL1 East this week is Blake Morrow. Great to see you, Blake.
Likewise. Thank you for having me.
Now, you've been starring with the Inner West Bulls. How did you end up here in Australia playing in NBL1 East?
So I was playing in the States for a league called the TBL, and my head coach, DeMarcus, actually used to coach over here and live over here for a while. So he's pretty plugged in like the Sydney community. And he used to coach, play, and essentially is best friends with the Inner West coach, Daniel Kim. So once that season ended over in the States, he wanted to help me prolong my career and, get me to a better place, essentially. And sent just a Facebook messenger, putting us in the same group chat, just introducing me to DK. And that was in about July of last year. And I just formed a really good relationship with DK, from July until now. And he was just, telling me what he was looking for. And, it wasn't a sure thing or anything until about October. So, we spent about four months getting to know each other really well, about, 1 to 2 phone calls a week, and just, learning about each other. And, thankfully he pulled the trigger and said that, he was going to use the import spot for myself. And that's kind of how the ball got rolling.
Nothing like Facebook Messenger to come through like that. So we're glad that it's worked out well. We'll talk about your basketball, but I'm interested to know, what did you know or think about Australia before you actually came here to play?
I mean, I knew kind of what the generic American version, it's full of, big scary animals. And I took a class on Australian history in college. So I knew a little bit about the history. And as I, found myself coming here, I dug in YouTube pretty heavily and, just learned about just how diverse it is, especially Sydney as a place, and just, really came in here not really knowing what to expect. But the whole experience is overall has just been, completely amazing. It's really broadened my views of, what the world has to offer. Cause, as an American, you're really just closed off in what's over there. And, it's been a really cool experience learning about Australia and learning about the history. I really enjoy learning. So it's been a really cool learning experience.
Well, that's great to hear. Now, I promise we'll get to the basketball because this is the NBL1 show, but finally my Aussie quiz for you. I want to know, have you seen any scary animals? And
No.
Okay, no. And have you tried Vegemite?
I have tried Vegemite and Marmalite.
Oh, mama. Yeah, no.
I don't know how you guys eat those. I don't know how the kids eat it. Chris and I, the other import, tried it together, and Chris was able to manage Vegemite. He was able to, eat it, just take one bite and actually eat it. But for me, it was just so bitter that I couldn't do it. So I tried it. I did try. I don't think it'll ever be incorporated in my diet, but
I'm not giving up hope. We've been doing the NBL1 show for a few years now. We've spoken to a lot of imports on this show and asked them that very question. And we always say to them, it's about the portion of the Vegemite to butter. So I think it's something we can work on. We'll take this offline and talk about this elsewhere. But let's get on to some basketball, because you have been in some top form. How have you found the competition and adjusting to the style of play here?
The competition has been great. It's never an easy game until, we're really in it. And our coach prepares us so well for every game, knowing the scout and knowing what, offensive schemes or defensive schemes they like to run. And we get a lot of film breakdown. I do a lot of individual film as well, as far as, watching the players that I'm going to be guarding, or watching the team that, what are their tendencies in certain aspects, whether it's pressing or their half court, or, how they're reading ball screens. So our coach prepares us, he spends hours and hours of his time getting us ready. So, when the game comes, we almost are, it's like a pre-test to the actual test. So yeah, it's been really good. The competition has been great. I'm adjusting pretty well. I have a lot of freedom in our play style. And I've always been a player that thrives when the coach really, lets me off the leash and gives me the freedom to do what I, am capable of. So in that aspect, it's been a great, halfway through the season so far. And, we're winning a lot. The culture is, probably one of the best I've ever been a part of, just as far as the camaraderie. Everyone wants to see each other win. That's from the coaching staff, that's from the higher ups. That's from, you know, maybe the guys that don't get to play as much. So the culture over here is really, really a big part of our success.
Yeah, it's definitely proving to be the key so far. Now, you guys are second on the ladder, and you did an interview pre-season when you arrived here where you said that your goal this season was to win the NBL1 championship, and that's looking pretty hopeful, being second on the ladder at this just past the halfway point.
Yeah, I mean, that's really the reason why I even play basketball. It's why I fell in love with it from a young age, is just the winning aspect of it. And fortunate for me, I've been able to be on a lot of different winning teams and programs that I've been able to adjust, you know, my play style to accordingly to help, you know, each team that I'm on, you know, just win to the highest level that we can. And, you know, over here, it's just been, you know, my play style has just been a little bit more effective of a role. So, yeah, I mean, as far as, you know, setting that goal for us, that's still the goal. And, you know, we've had a couple tough losses, but, you know, I've always been, you know, one to think that the losses just build us towards our end goal. And as long as they're happening earlier in the season, you know, we have a lot to learn from, and it just shows that we, you know, have a lot to improve on as well. So the goal, you know, still is to win that NBL1 championship, and really just like, you know, give back to the Bulls, you know, like they've given me this opportunity. So I think that'd be a really great way to show my, you know, gratitude and thankfulness that, you know, they chose me, and not only did they choose me, that they chose the right, you know, import guard to help them win at the highest level.
Well, it's proving to be a great fit for the Bulls and yourself, and you're certainly having an impact on their campaign, averaging 22 points, 4 rebounds and 4 assists. It's been great to have a chat to you today. We wish you all the best for the rest of your season, and I'm still hopeful that you might come around to Vegemite before the championship is played out. Thanks, Blake.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you for having me. I guess, you know, maybe my taste buds will adjust, but only time will tell.
Thanks so much for the chat.
Of course. Thank you, guys.
Thanks for joining us on another massive edition of the NBL1 Show. Great to catch up with our guests too today. It's a very special round coming up across the country this weekend. It is Mental Health Round, where we will be raising important awareness and crucial funds for Lifeline. Players will be wearing orange socks, and players, clubs and conferences getting behind this very special and important initiative in a lot of different ways. So make sure you get involved however you can. Stay tuned to the NBL app for all the news and all the highlights on our socials. Enjoy the basketball coming up, and we'll see you again next week.